Hello there and welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I'm Victor Matthias. Now, though elections have been postponed, one thing that remains key is the need to ensure a free and fair elections that is free of rancor and violence to be conducted in March and April of 2015. Pockets of violent acts were recorded during some campaigns around the country, and these acts surely do not portend any good for Nigeria. On the program today, we will be speaking to some Nigerians, including celebrities, on the need to ensure we have a violent-free elections when the time comes. But before we meet them, let's take a look at topics trending in the social cyberspace. People who reside in Nigeria got the shock of their lives when the electoral body announced the postponement of the elections by 6 weeks, and some had made no plans for the day, but were forced to backtrack as St. Valentine's Day came to pass. The Egyptian government finally released the other Al Jazeera journalists that were held for allegedly aiding and abetting the Muslim Brotherhood after calls from several quarters. Well, those were the trends. Let's meet our online contributors.
I think it's clear that elections are either of two things. They're either an opportunity for a new direction or a referendum on the past 4 years, in Nigeria's case, of a particular administration. I think 2015 seems to be a combination of both. It's both a referendum on Goodluck Jonathan and also a desperate opportunity by many citizens, including myself, to see things change from what they are at the moment.
I would like them to just watch their words and their body language, because many times they come out and they say stuff without even knowing the implications, without even knowing the ripple effect of some of the kind of things that they say. And these things sometimes just instigate people in different parts of the country and create some unwanted sentiment. And I think they do it intentionally just to, you know how it is. Like they say, if it's only during elections that we know that, oh, this one is Igbo, no, this one is Salsa, this one is, but it's not supposed to be like that, anymore in this time and age. It's not supposed to be like that anymore. All these religious cards that is being played, and tribal cards that is being played, it's all these things bring about violence, and I would like for them to avoid those kind of comments and those kind of sentiments.
The media needs to do more investigative journalism as opposed to merely repeating platitudes from both camps. Both major camps. I think in this particular cycle, the media has unfortunately chosen to play favorites. And all they're doing is pushing narratives which, for the most part, are not accurate. And I think that hinders everybody because the populace and on the media for information is really misled. That's not something that helps anyone long term.
This election is very important for everybody, and we've been seeing so many adverts on TV. Most of the time, they are just hate speeches. We've not really had anybody really talking about what exactly is going to affect the Nigerian populace as individuals. What I'm going to benefit from whoever becomes the president or the governor or my councillor or whatever. So I think we are really not on track as it pertains to issues that are important to everybody. So I think it's just basically people's selfish interests and kind of some institutions trying to protect their wealth or their loot, I think. But I think hopefully we'll be able to cross this bridge and we'll get to a stage where we'll be able to discuss issues. But so many things that we do in Nigeria cannot even, it can't happen in a local government in places like this, and in Nigeria this is 2015, 21st century, and I think we can do better. We should first and foremost stop the hate speeches that I think NCC should do their job by not allowing some adverts go on here or in the dailies and all that. That should be the first thing. And also, it's very important for elections to be seen as being free and fair. Because the truth of our matter is, for instance, if you see for instance, if elections are free, I'm very sure the violence is going to be very, very minimal. But when election is not seen to be free and fair, that's when you see the violence. And of course, you start inciting people from now, and by the time it's election day and something goes wrong, so people will start killing themselves. It's just natural. For us, it is for now. So I think first and foremost, the adverts should stop. They should focus on issues, not on personalities, attacking why this guy is not performing or why this guy incarcerated somebody a donkey years ago. We should focus on issues and stop the hate speeches.
People take advantage. Unfortunately, I think a lot of times people resort to self-help. I think in terms of political adverts and political speech, I think people who are aggrieved should take their challenges to the courts immediately. If a candidate feels something against him is defamatory, he or she should go to court. But again, that's not the case. What you have is that candidate resorts in kind and starts hurling insults, abuses. In some elections, he has or she has her supporters go on a rampage, and all that. I don't think that helps. I think we need to focus on strengthening the judiciary by actually using it.
I think this time they really need to go into their core training and be very disciplined, as in not, they have to be non-partisan, they don't have to be used by anybody else, as the agents of disrupting the elections. They have to be very, very, this is when they have to be in their highest level of discipline, and use their training very, very properly this time, and be very vigilant, and very importantly, they should be non-partisan. They shouldn't be, they shouldn't be on anybody's side. They should be on the masses' side.
Concerning the postponement of the elections and the security, constitutionally, we're not supposed to have the military on ground, really, when there is no war. So I don't see a reason why the military should be present during the election. If we have a working police system, if the police get effective enough, it should be okay for us to have just the police there, and we can still hold elections. We cannot solve the issues of security that we did not solve for 4 years and solve it only in 6 weeks or the amount of time the election postponement will take. But I believe we just need to get our acts together and forget about the postponement and do the elections the way it needs to be done. I believe, first and foremost, our security agents should be non-partisan. That means they shouldn't be controlled by any party, be it the ruling party or be it the opposition or whatever. First and foremost, they should dissociate themselves from being allies to any party. When you dissociate yourself from being an ally to any party, then you can think straight, you can be alert, you can be focused on the duties you have at hand. Because when you are you're biased to a certain party, it becomes a very big problem. So my first advice is this: there should be a form of orientation, education to these security agencies, especially from the top. Their bosses, the colonels, the majors, the generals, they should talk to them and make them understand that you are working for Nigeria, the betterment of Nigeria, and not for somebody's personal interest.
Social media is a tool, and I think it's important for us to see that it's an avenue to express what people think and what people consider, their thoughts or their stand at the moment. I know many of us have seen other media used to promote violence in the past, and the unfortunate thing about platforms like social media is that it's very contextual when you share it, but unfortunately things can be taken out of context. But you're right that there are people who, we know there are both, okay? There are people who will use words, who will post messages deliberately to incite violence or to get some expected reaction from people. One of the things, and there's a tension here between the freedom of speech and the responsibility of the speaker. While I am 100% for the freedom of speech, I'm also 100% for the responsibility of the speaker. And by this, I mean that our reaction should not be to say that, oh, because we have hate speech, then let's censor social media. That does not make sense. Because reality is whatever you censor, you make more powerful. And people will find avenues to express themselves using that same platform, and they would walk around your censorship. So I think that we need to speak a lot more about the responsibility of the speaker. We need to let people understand. Yes, it's been said, people say things that favor them. At times, it's said that social media is not a big deal. They're not going to vote in elections. But if you say it's not a big deal, then why so much attention on social media from various political parties? So I would say that we need to find a balance between making sure that there's a responsibility of speakers, but at the same time making sure that we do not, in the name of curbing excess of responsibility, we do not need to go to the realm of censorship, because it's a natural force to have.
The impact of social media is massive. Majority of what we hear today or know about today is through social media. Although sometimes there's this dangerous trend where, because the place is kind of a place for faceless people to be able to say what they cannot say normally, what they cannot say outside. They go on social media and they become faceless, and they have the courage to say some very nasty things and also ignite some very, very serious arguments and so on and so forth. But social media is a very, very serious and solid tool in this election, not just in the election, in so many aspects of life nowadays.
Well, you heard them yourselves, and we also see your comments coming through our social media platforms. We're going to take a look at some of them later on in the show, but we'll take a break, and when we return, we'll get more reactions. Please don't go away, and do also remember that you can find these conversations on our website. It's channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channelsweb. Please stay with us.